So I just saw you had a Pringles bottle there. Now that was the tea bag in the Pringles, but that was a makeshift garbage can essentially,
Yes,
right?
that is
I
correct.
like that. So you're like, yeah, you're being like resourceful, which is that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, over the time when the streaming business here evolved, you know, I got more and more professional, but I still need to ground myself with things like that,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. I love that. I want to think back, Amadeus, when we originally met. This was through Sarah's stream event that she had way back
Yep.
when, which I thought was an amazing idea. Do you know if she's had any more such things since then? I don't think I saw.
I don't think so. I haven't seen her do any collaboration streams ever since. I think back then
Yeah.
it was she's from France, and that was like the Fête de la Musique, which happens once a year.
Yes, that's right. It was a special event happening. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think she thought of her as something, doing something with other musicians, you know, to celebrate the occasion. And she had me on the next day as well because they needed to fill in, I think. Probably didn't have anything planned or anything, so we played again for like an hour or two together. And ever since, she's been pretty busy with her own stuff, I think.
Her thriving community, her thriving program she has. She's so I love hopping in periodically. I haven't actually been in one of her streams in a while, but I like hopping in, and that goes for you, and that goes for anyone really. Hopping in and seeing the growth, right? Seeing the growth in terms of whether it's a different camera angle or a different feature or something different about the stream to keep things fresh. And even not even that often, right? Just every so often is something that I like seeing, because for me it's very inspiring when I see that, just because it's like, wow, okay, that's cool. It's a level up, and it gets my sort of ideas, like thinking about like what can I do, or is now a good time for me to implement something different or something like that too, you know?
Totally. I do that as well. Since I do stream quite a lot, I don't have the time to hang around on Twitch too often. Like sometimes I would, when I work on my bot or my setup or something, and I do have a quiet minute, I do turn on some streams in the background, you know, lurk a little bit.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, catch up a little bit with what people are doing. And I totally agree that that's something really inspiring. That's the beauty of Twitch. You have a very easy connection to colleagues, basically, or to people doing something similar to what you do, and see what works for you. You know, I think in the end, every stream, or at least I don't know how it is for you, but for me, I feel like sometimes my stream is like a collaboration or a mixture of all the other streams I've been to. And from every stream, I took something I liked, or I think worked for me, or I think worked for them, you know, and tried that out, you know. If it didn't work, threw it away again, to finally arrive at that point where I'm like happy with the consistency of my own stream. And it's super nice to hear that you do like the same in my stream now, you know, just like pass on what I've learned to somebody else, and you know, you do the same, and then it goes on from there. It's super nice.
That's exactly right, man. It is so inspiring, and I could totally agree with that. Yeah, it's like you try things out, a trial and error kind of thing, and you see what works for you. And I think like so you said you stream about, your sessions on average are about, you said 4 to 6 hours usually.
Yeah, I would say say by now the average is actually 6 or 7 hours.
Wow. See, that I'm trying to fathom it as a person whose my averages are 1 to 2 hours right now currently. And I'm thinking about what that looks like. Certainly there's breaks in between, but I think maybe a good place to start is just kind of like unpacking the fact that to do something like that for that period of time, certainly you must be getting a lot out of it, just like others are getting a lot out of it who are watching you. Like, you enjoy streaming. That's why you're doing it for so long. Would that be a good way to put it?
Most definitely, yeah. I think the reason why I can go on for a long time like that is, for once, that I do have a lot of different kind of content on my stream, which also happened to change over the times, over the last 1.5 years that I'm now streaming. I mean, I have like a lot of different genres that I play. I don't set myself to only play, for example, I don't know, classical music or only play pop covers. And by now, thanks to all these technological advances that we have access to nowadays, I can also, you know, like use my piano via MIDI to use different instruments, different sounds. I have a loop station that I use excessively lately. I'm learning more about this thing every day, and it makes me super happy to see what it's capable of.
Man. Wow.
And yeah, you know, that kind of keeps the diversity going for me as well as for the audience. I feel like some people might be thrown off by that because they come in and expect classical music, for example, and then after 2 songs I switch and play metal. So it's not something for everybody, I guess. But for me, I couldn't go on just play like one kind of music for 6 hours, for example. That just burns you out, I think, after a while.
Yeah, that this is coming at such a great time, and I love how you put that. There's a chance that for some people it might throw some people off, and maybe perhaps some people who are only interested in one style of music may not stick around. Okay, the deal is that you have like the talent, as do I, to really tap into these different interests that we have musically. So I'm as I've got to know you by joining your streams and seeing you rap Eminem and like do these other songs that are so different than some of the other things that I've seen you when I first started checking you out. It resonates with me because I have been in a similar state of trying to think about and brainstorm and figure out, what I want my live streams to be like and what I want them to be about. And so one of the things you mentioned, the looping station, one of the things that I don't have, I should say, extensive experience with what we all think of as looping, like I should say live looping. I don't have extensive experience with live looping. I have a lot of experience with like making beats and making compositions via loops in different apps that I've used. But now recently, there's an app on my iPad over there called Loopy Pro. Have you heard of this before?
I think I saw you do some... was it on Instagram or something? Like some stories
Quite
about
possibly.
it? Yeah,
Quite
maybe a
possibly.
YouTube video too. I saw you getting pretty hyped about it, and you also did like an interview, I think, with the founder or with the guy who did it, right?
Spot on. Yeah. So you did your homework. That's what I'm talking about.
I did my
Understood the
research.
assignment. There we go.
I don't come
Yeah,
up with
that app is one that that is very, very, very similar in function to what you have. You have the RC 505, I believe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like the not what do you, I don't know if I say Rolls Royce, but like the main thing that people who loop, like that's the one, right? That's the one to get. And so at the time I was like, oh, I really want to get into live looping. I've watched. I'm sure you've seen like is it Mark Rebele or Rebele?
Yes.
How do you pronounce? I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you pronounce his last name?
I have no idea.
Okay, I have no idea. Rebele. We'll just say Mark R. Mark R. You out there, man? Shout out to Mark R. But watching him have so much fun, I was like, I need to get into some live looping things. But I just never figured out until pretty much this week, how do I get all this stuff routed and situated properly where what I'm saying in the mic, you guys can hear, but also my iPad can hear and record it. Like, how do I get it all set up? And it was, ebbs and flows, a little bit frustrating. Like, can I do this? Is it possible? To now, like, okay, I can do it. And now all I got to do is get these levels right and I'm good. And I had such... Bro, when I tell you that, like, hitting a button and, like, singing a song and then hearing that song be looped and then, like, singing it at a higher octave, like, just experimenting with things like that, it brought so much joy. And I'm like, so I had to tweet out there. I don't think anyone saw the tweet. I really don't care. I had to put out in the atmosphere, like now that I got this situated, like, the level of fun that I think I'm going to have in these sessions, which hopefully will translate, through the screen, is going to be so much more to be able to go from, like you said, classical to just doing a beat with my mouth or something and then playing chords over it. Like, I'm very hyped for what that's going to become now.
Man, I'm so happy, like, listening to you right now, becoming so hyped about this, because I felt exactly the same when I got this station.
Wow.
Like, when I was a bit younger, about 13, 14 years old, back then I mostly played the piano, like classical piano, maybe a few pop and rock covers I did. And I played on an acoustic piano, so I didn't have like all the tech that I do now. And mostly I used like a cheap €8 like, I don't know, $10, $12, microphone, like one of these speaking microphones you use for
Yeah.
For talking mainly, for video calls, etc. I got one of those and recorded myself playing. And then I started being like, oh, I can actually record my voice if I connect it to my PC instead of my laptop on the piano. And I was trying out like some, like a cappella stuff. I was like, wait, if I record myself like 4 times, I can sing like 4 different voicings. Needless to say, it sounded like shit. But like it gave me that grasp of what it could be. And back then, I don't know if there's been like loop stations, etc., like that back then, but I certainly didn't know about them. And when I heard about these loop stations, when I first saw also Mark R,
Mark
and
R.
Other artists on Twitch also using the 505, I became so hyped as well. I was like, oh my god, I have to get one of these things. That's going to be a game changer, basically. And it really does, because it sparks that kind of creativity, going in, because it really motivates you to experiment, as you said.
Yeah.
Like you start playing out with an instrument, maybe, and then you can actually go through all the different instrument and sounds you have and play on top and see, okay, this one works, this one doesn't work, this one works. And you save that information, you get to know like how different instruments work together. And I feel like that is something amazing that I don't know, I certainly don't take for granted. Like, I don't know, 100 years ago or so, you would have to have a whole orchestra to get that kind of experience of sound. And now you just can do all that at home. It's great.
It's mind blowing. You're absolutely right, man, about what is available now technologically to be able to create. I think we're just at such an interesting time. Like you said, that the fact that it fosters that creativity, that when you're playing something, if you had it connected to Ableton or even the iPad with some of the other apps on there that aren't specifically designed for looping, then sure, you can like record an audio file of what you're playing, and you can like then create a new track, and you can do all these things deliberately. But the immediacy of, say, Loopy Pro and the RC, it's like from what I've seen and from what I've experimented with this, it's so immediate. And you're talking like as soon as you play it, you're like, oh, this sounds pretty cool. Now I wonder about this other melody that's over here in my head with this other instrument. You can grab it quick, and you can just boom and just add it immediately. And I really think that people, I certainly do, as do you. I think a lot of people like enjoy watching that process too, because you're not like, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you're in a live looping session during your 7-hour, 8-hour marathon streams that you have, like I'm sure like in that moment you're just like, especially when you catch like a rhythm and it's like sounding good, like you're not even maybe caring about the chat. You're like, yo, I'm just in a zone right now. I'm seeing what comes out of this creativity. I'll get back to you guys in a second. And I'm sure most of them, if not all of them, are like, they don't even care about the chat. They're just like, they want to see that creativity, like that magic happen, And I think that's so cool, man. I think that's really cool. I love the fact, Amadeus, that you have such a diverse interest as well. The diverse interest to me is something that I think clearly you've captured the significance of not diminishing either of those for you. Like you're saying, this is all of what I'm interested in. I love Eminem, I love Bach, I like all this different stuff. I think you mentioned metal too. So like just total different genres that you kind of experiment with. And I think it's so cool and relatable and timely, the fact that we're having the conversation now, because like I said, not to say that I was thinking about not doing some of them, but I was wondering if I needed to have different streams for different types of content. But as I've tried to do that, I'm like, the way my mind works is like, I can, like you said, I can be doing one type of thing musically, and pretty much immediately after I can want to do something else. And I did not like the idea of having to, say, end the stream or contain that spontaneity and say, okay, I'm gonna do this the next time or something. Like it kind of all needs to happen together. And so I'm glad that that's working for you and that you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah. I haven't thought about it that way actually myself, but now that you say it, yeah, it's true. Like, if you go for like a certain, even if you put like, instead of streaming 8 hours, you would stream 4 times 2 hours and split it into different sections. I feel like you put yourself into kind of a box, you know, as you say, you can't go with the flow. You can't actually do that. And here's the thing, as you said before, I think on Twitch, what people are interested in, of course, sometimes they come for a specific genre, they come for a specific thing. We've been talking about Sarah, for example, earlier. She has like her style. She does only originals on stream, or mostly originals, as far as I know, and improvisations. And she has that unique style of playing with different acoustic pianos, playing with electric pianos, and using, I think, some synths as well sometimes in there lately. And people come for that, you know. I mean, she has a very big, like, broad audience, and those people come for exactly what they get. You know, they know what they're in for, basically. Yeah. Whereas people like us, maybe, you know, who have a broader interest, who don't want to restrict themselves, or maybe whose, I'd say, maybe like musical language is a bit more diverse, you know, which is not a bad or a good thing. It's just different. Yeah. You might feel that at first you have a more difficult time to grab an audience, because I feel like on Twitch, especially, as on every other social media, people just keep scrolling through, you know, from like, I don't know, 50, 60 people clicking on your stream, maybe only 4 or 5 might stay longer than 5 minutes. I don't know, just throwing in some numbers here, but like I think a lot of people feel pressure to grab those 50 people coming through. And as the way I see it, I don't want all of those 50 people to stay. I mean, would be nice, but but basically I want those people who are into the stuff that I do, right? Might take a bit longer time maybe to form a community, to find people who enjoy what you're doing. But it's totally worth it, you know, like, because these people come for what you are doing, and then you can start just be you, just express yourself how you want to express yourself, and you know you're going to have that audience that gives you feedback, that enjoys the process, as you say, which is also a big part on Twitch, you know, that immediate reaction and feeling that you're there with the artist, you know, and you see the process of how they create something. I see that as a very, very big chance, a very big opportunity, you know, for artists on Twitch, and for people alike, also for viewers, you know, to get to know how stuff is done, and maybe how many times you have to do something over and over again until it works, you know. Yep.
And not previously not having that visibility, and maybe assuming or thinking or not realizing that that the process is exactly what it is. It's not necessarily an immediate thing that results in the finished product that I think a lot of people are used to seeing. And I think another thing that I've had realizations over the past several months has been that that there's so much talent out there. There's an incredible amount of talent. All right, let's word this properly. There is a lot of talent out there, and the level of talent that people have is so high from like specific individuals that I've come across. That's like, it's like mind blowing. Like, you look at whether it's like on Twitch, for example, like the production value coupled with their actual artistry, what it is that they're doing, the attention to detail, their ability. One of the things that always jumps out at me, and we know the importance of you know, acknowledging people in chat and everything like that. I've been in some of like higher profile, I guess we can say, Twitch streamers, one of which I'm talking to in about a little under an hour, which I'm super excited about. But yeah, so having a chance to go in these and like watch the process of them, you know, with say 1,000 or close to 1,000 people in the chat. So the chat's moving fast, and they're playing their instrument. And they're, you know, I'm like studying their eyes. I'm like watching them. They're doing all this stuff musically, but they're also like clearly reading the chat to make sure they give like shout outs to new people and stuff. And so to me, that's a whole nother level of like, you're not just at a coffee shop or somewhere performing where it's just you and the music. There's like a whole other skill set that requires like nurturing, like to be able to do both of these somewhat different things, like musically and then interacting. Like, you're interacting sometimes while you're playing, and I just think that's it's so interesting to see. And yeah, it's like these little takeaways, Amadeus, that while I'm watching, I'm like, okay, what resonates with me? What makes me feel like when I see this person is live streaming, regardless of what I'm doing, like I want to make sure I'm in there. I want to see what's going on in there, and whatever that thing is, which is going to be different for a lot of different people. There's a whole bunch of different things. There's the consistency. Maybe this particular person is not streaming often, so I'm like, oh, here's a small opportunity. I need to get there. Or maybe they always acknowledge you when you say something in the chat, and maybe you're having a bad day, so you want to be acknowledged today. Like, oh, okay, let me just say what's up, everyone, and get that acknowledgement. You're like, oh, I needed this today. We're all human. I can also admit that. Like we all like being noticed and stuff, right? And so to me, I'm like, it's like kind of studying it, let me have fun with it, but also I want to be successful with it. So let me think about what are these things that resonate with me that I can then put into the stream to make sure that people are feeling noticed. And I'm asking questions about something we talked about last week, like how was that piece of equipment that you taught, like chatting, like regular dialogue. And that's what I'm learning, and I'm truly enjoying it, man. Really, really having fun with it.
Yeah, it's also something that you have to take into account, that not every stream is the same, right? That's also like even with music streams, right? You now mentioned that people come to Twitch streams for different reasons, and definitely, especially during the Corona crisis now, or during the pandemic. Yeah. I think a lot of people just needed to get out there again in some kind of way and resonate with others and interact with others, and that happened on Twitch a lot. That happened in Twitch music streams a lot. And a lot of times I feel like you don't there's a few streamers probably who are so amazingly good at what they're doing musically, that they will attract an audience no matter what, They're featured on the front page once, and after that they've got like 12, 15K followers, and they just skyrocket off. But I think the majority of us has to acknowledge the fact that what you're doing when you're music streaming is more than just making music, more than just creating music. I see it a little bit more as maybe you can compare it to like entertainers, back in the days. Sure. There's like classical pianists, they go onto the stage, they play their stuff, they go, but that's again a smaller audience, a more narrowed down audience. They could just come for that, and just once a month maybe. Whereas a guy sitting in a bar talking to the people he's playing to, maybe shouting into the audience, hey, give me something to play, what are you up to tonight? That's what makes you feel like human. You mentioned that as well. And I feel like that kind of connection is something that I, for myself, figured out really quick, that this is something that I enjoy about streaming, because I could also just do my music at home. I could also record my music and put it out there somehow, There's always a reason why people are attracted to streaming specifically. And for me, it's that kind of human connection, human interaction between people, even though you don't see them. You get like an idea of what they're in for, and you build that kind of community. But then again, that's something you have to learn. That is something I had to learn. Like when I look at my streams now from when I started streaming, it was really tough for me to keep track of chat, to not just play and sit there and stare into the nothingness for like 5 minutes and be like, okay, what do I do next? You kind of have to find your own language somehow. And I feel like you do that in your streams already pretty consistently. Did you, just one question from me? Yeah, actually, sure. Did you start streaming before or after you started also putting out content on YouTube, etc., like recorded content?
Oh yeah, so well after. Yeah, the streaming thing is relatively new in the grand scheme of things, especially the consistent streaming. I kind of started on Reddit, and I don't know if you ever had a chance to check out Reddit's live streaming or even do any streaming on Reddit, but that happened about a year and a half ago. So that was about 6 to 8 months after I started making content. And I just remember literally sitting right behind me where my digital piano happened to be over there at the time and streaming. And I'm like, Saturday morning, and I had on one of my initial streams, like we're talking like 2 or 3 times after doing it, I saw what streaming could mean for me, which is Reddit can put you on the front page randomly in the blink of an eye, and then you're having from 5 to 10 to 100 to 1,000 to multi-thousand people in your stream across the world immediately. And that's kind of akin to maybe a huge raid or something like that when you're sitting there doing something and out of nowhere. So, and at that time I had no idea what raids are. I didn't know really anything about Twitch, a year and a half ago. But when I tell you that, like, that having people put, like, at that time, I think what I was doing a lot of was like taking requests and like figuring out how to play songs that people put in the chat by ear, because I can play by ear. And with songs that I know how they go, I'm like, oh, let me try this. And then like people were really like captivated by the process, like you mentioned before. So that set the stage. And from that moment all the way up to today, there's been an interesting journey of doing a lot of stuff on Reddit, it's trying a little bit of YouTube live streaming, trying Facebook, Instagram Live, this thing called Trubify, which is a new music streaming app that pays out a lot more than any other streaming platform, but it's very, very small. So it's kind of not there yet, but has the potential maybe if people start using it. And then obviously get into Twitch and realizing in the process that, there was times where I'm doing a lot of studying. I love the not debate, but the situation going on between the live streaming giants of YouTube versus Twitch. I love how reading these articles and seeing, YouTube took, they paid 3 prominent Twitch streamers that are now streaming exclusively. I like paying attention to these things. And at a time, I was very much like, okay, I already have a YouTube presence. I see what Twitch is bringing to the table, but I don't know if I really want to be building a whole new community on Twitch. There was a time when I said that, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to double down on YouTube. I'm going to try really hard to like build a music fan base kind of thing on YouTube. And I didn't really try really hard to do it. Ultimately, I tried just somewhat hard and kind of got a little bit discouraged at the fact that there didn't seem to be an audience of people who really love watching music streaming on YouTube. Maybe they're there, but it was very hard for me to find them. Whereas on Twitch, it's not, if you do a good job on Twitch, I don't think it's very hard to get noticed. I feel as though like if you're doing a good job on Twitch and you're doing some of the things that I've learned to do, like network with people and do all these different things, then people will want to help you in ways that make sense for them. Like rating, for example. I love raids. Raids, they're so amazing. Both ways, right? Like I raid you, you rate me. It's not even, it doesn't even need to be the same person. It's like when you raid someone, there's like distinct benefits both ways. It's such an interesting psychological thing that's going on there. If you raid someone that has around the same number of people that's in your stream at the time, I'm saying this to you, you know this, but maybe people who are watching this later, hopefully this resonates with them. But you raid that person, and perhaps it's a new person that you've never been in their stream before, that someone in your chat recommended. You go there, you're going to inevitably, make that person's day probably. You're going to inevitably get a shout out. They're going to ask you how it went. And now they are your audience is being introduced to them, which is amazing. But you are also being introduced to their audience. It's perfect. It's like a perfect match. Yeah. And I'm like, whoever came up with this, idea is that's extraordinary, I think. There's no such thing on YouTube currently. Possibly eventually, but maybe it might be too late. We'll see. But I think that maybe alone is like an amazing thing that makes it just like after your stream is over, it's like, oh, it's not over. There's another fun thing that you can do here to like end the stream. And I love that so much, man. Yeah,
I feel like as it stands now, as I see it now with the YouTube Twitch rivalry, is that so I also started actually streaming on YouTube first. I think my first 1 or 2 streams I tried out on YouTube. And then I switched over to Twitch, tried it out there, and was overall just happier with the whole experience. And the reason being, stuff like the raids you mentioned, where you take your audience to another streamer and connect. That's like just a simple click, after your own stream, and immediately you have you did the networking. It's basically an implemented form of networking for people who do or create similar content. And that is something that also shapes this whole sense of community on Twitch. I feel like it's like you start streaming and you just join this kind of family of people who are already out there, and you see them and they can see you immediately. Whereas on YouTube, I feel like it's more difficult to kind of get the audience. Like if you maybe already have an audience, if you're an established artist with maybe like, I don't know, a few thousand of fans, and you make some ads and you say like, hey, there's going to be a live concert. I'm going to stream on Saturday, 12 a.m., 12 p.m., whatever. Like be there or be square. Bam. Then those people will get there. And then you might also have like a few hundred people watching your YouTube stream, but they will never come back. You know, those are not people who will stay on YouTube because they're not coming inherently from using that platform. They come from being interested in you specifically. And then you just, you know, you stream out there into the nothingness of YouTube. I feel like also like the algorithm of finding live streams is a bit more tough than on Twitch.
I agree.
So it's more difficult to get like new folks in as well to click in on your stream, especially if you're starting out. Like if you have 10 people watching, nobody's going to click on your stream on YouTube. With a few hundred maybe. Whereas on Twitch, people sometimes just scroll through the page, be like, I want to see something different today. Oh, there's that guy has a piano. 10 people, why not watch it? And then I don't know, you know, you find like new folks being interested in your content. And I think that's the big strength of Twitch right now against YouTube, is that sense of immediately being part of it instead of being all alone out there and trying to find out what you have to do to grow. Especially if you're like a person like you who obviously puts a lot of effort into thinking about how to grow, how these things work, you know, how things like the way you put in your TikToks, your Instagram stories, etc., how all of that influences the way you present yourself and the way you catch new people to develop some kind of growth. I feel on YouTube, you don't really have like a feedback from the platform itself to let you know what you can do to improve. On Twitch, it tells you like you have so many stats. You know, immediately you can watch other streamers and be like, okay, what are they doing? Why are people raiding there? Why are people staying there after a raid and not leaving? What do they do when they get a raid, etc.? You can like immediately learn and grow yourself. And that's something really that puts like Twitch on top of things right now, I feel like.
I think that's so well said, man. We have an unprecedented sort of tool or asset that we can utilize, which is we have a lot of cheat codes about what works and what doesn't work. So I'll give you an example. Like there's been many times where I start live streaming and I just get lazy, and before I start, I'm lazy and I don't post a little story on Instagram or something on Instagram, right? I'm just like, I don't really feel like it. I just want to. You know how easy it is to post a story. It's very simple to do, but I'm just like, I don't want to bother people, and I'm just gonna go ahead and stream, and people they'll find me if they want to, kind of thing, right? I do that. And I'm not going to be doing that moving forward because I'm like, that's not a smart thing to do. Right? It's not smart. You should utilize social media and let people know, because I see almost all Twitch people that I follow, including yourself, right, do that. And there's a reason why many people do that. There's a reason why many Twitch streamers have a Discord. And like looking at understanding, for me at least, that like it's not a matter of just saying, oh, everyone's doing it, so I'm going to do it too. For me, it's kind of like looking at what so many people are doing, and then really just saying, okay, there's a reason why almost everyone is doing it this way. You know, I should be doing that too. I see the benefit. I understand the benefit. I should be doing that too, which was my exact thought process with Discord. I'm like, I don't have a Discord. I didn't have one for a while. Now I have one. Every content creator who's like successful and on their way, you know, to whatever they define success as, everyone has that because they know that the algorithms suck for the most part. They will not show your story. If you tweet about it and you're like, oh, all my people on Twitter or my Instagram, they're going to all see that. No, they're not going to all see that. Like we know the deal, a tiny percentage of people see it. Whereas Discord is different. Discord is like, okay, now we can communicate, we can build community. That's what I love about it. I'm like building community a little bit, like being able to keep the conversation going. And man, yeah, so we have those abilities, and it's a matter of, like you said earlier in the conversation, just kind of, I guess, being thoughtful about what makes sense for you and trying things out and having fun with it, more than anything else. It should be fun. Right now, I think I'm in a place, Amadeus, where, like I mentioned before, I got things set up in here. They're set up proper. Last night, I wasn't even streaming last night, but I was just like, let me just act like I'm streaming and let me just see how everything works. Let me see if all my routing is correct. And like I mentioned with that looping app, I'm like, okay, now that this is here, you've heard of Teenage Engineering before?
I don't.
Yeah. You did? Okay. So they have the OP1 device that's over. I'm not going to grab it, but it's like a portable synthesizer. Mm-hmm. So I have one of those down there too. And I'm like, using that OP1 with Loopy Pro with my piano, like this is like the trifecta that I needed. I got my drums and synth sounds there. I got my weighted key bed to be able to do whatever I need to. Got my microphone to make mouth beats and all that stuff. So yeah, man, it's very just exciting to get to that point where now during the live stream, and this took a little while for sure, but now during the live streams, I feel so comfortable to be able to click record or click, go live and then just go sit there and then just like start talking. Like no one's there yet. But I don't care. I'm like, I'm just like talking. I'm just like, I'm just like putting it out there, whatever's on my mind. Yeah. And like that's a major thing I think that I kind of learned to just be comfortable with that. Mm-hmm. Maybe some people watch the replay. Maybe somebody is there, but I just didn't see them because I don't look at the numbers. I'm assuming, what I'm saying, that kind of thing. And they need to feel, engaged. That might get them to talk. So there's a lot, man. There's so much to learn about the process, but definitely just having fun with it, I think, is most important, probably for me at least.
Most definitely. I mean, if you're having fun with something, you're gonna be good at it. That's just my opinion. It means you're spending time with it. It means you're getting into it, and then it's gonna get somewhere or get you somewhere.
That's for sure.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to watch one of your streams again in the future and see what you do with all that stuff. Like compared to when we met at Sarah's.
Yes. I definitely appreciate that. Let me ask just a couple more questions. I want to know a little bit about your musical influences. I want to know a bit about what you like. Name, I guess, some artists that you enjoy listening to, or maybe artists that you feel possibly like inspired your artistry.
Mm-hmm. So two very different things, I guess, because as mentioned before, I listen to a variety of genres, and not all. I mean, in the end, all of them, listening to all of this music will definitely have some kind of impact on my music, but I guess the biggest influence itself is like the choice of instrument. So playing the piano, and therefore I had classical lessons when I was a kid for like 9 years in total. So like that was basically where I came from, if that makes any sense. And then like my father is like a big audiophile. He mostly listens to like a lot of classical music, to jazz, to some pop rock,
Nice.
but mostly like things that sound good, if that makes any sense.
It does make a lot of sense. Anything, if it sounds really good, I will like it, like that kind of thing.
Exactly. If it's a good recording, it doesn't matter if it's techno or if it's rock.
Yeah,
I'm gonna enjoy listening to it and enjoying the sounds. And I think that influenced me a lot on how I listen to music. And that's why I started at some point to cover music. So I guess the biggest influences are like classical music, definitely, and then like all these neoclassical minimalists that a lot of people nowadays I think are influenced by, especially when you play solo piano. People like Ludovico Einaudi, Jan Tierson, Yuruma is like one of the names that get dropped a lot. And yeah, kind of like this cinematic kind of music,
like scores.
Yeah, like scores.
That type of thing. Okay, yeah, sure.
I feel like a lot of my music that I do tries to convey some kind of feeling, and I oftentimes think in like either stories or pictures. So as like if I compose something or if I'm playing something, okay, what would be a fitting movie scene where that would play and people would get an emotional reaction?
Got you. Yes.
So when like making music, I think it's that. But again, I try to take in from every genre that I listen to, something that I feel like could work for me, you know. And that is also something very fluent for me. Like I sit down and I improvise. I don't compose a lot. I mostly improvise and see what works, and then I do it over and over again until like something stays or sticks around. And oftentimes I would just play like my usual stuff. Oftentimes it sounds quite similar. And then at some point I'd be like, oh wait, my left hand could do that, because that sounds a little bit like that thing I heard in the soundtrack of that show I watched yesterday.
Right.
You know? And I'd try it out, and then oh no, that doesn't work at all, so forget it. And I try something else, you know. Yeah, I don't know. I hope that at some point that will create like my own kind of language, you know, by mixing all these things. Yeah.
Going off of going off of feeling. I think that's interesting too, because like, well, one thing I was going to share real quick about also being classically trained is I guess it just has to do with possibly playing anything or playing any instrument. But I've discovered something that I actually talked to Sarah about when I had her on way back when. And I talked about like one time I was up really late. I was playing the piano. I was practicing playing Bach late night, 2 a.m., 1 a.m., something like that, right?
Nice.
And I'm like having a good time with them. I'm like, okay, I'm feeling very comfortable with the muscle memory aspect. I feel like I'm not like reading the music at all anymore. I'm like just playing it because I kind of know how it goes. And I'm like, let me just try playing this with my eyes closed. So I do that. I'm like, let me close my eyes. And it was so amazing what happened. I'm playing it and it's sounding good. It sounded good. But I was just in some kind of like euphoric trance where I felt as though like I was sitting down on the piano bench. But as I'm playing, I just feel like I'm not sitting down anymore. Like I feel like I'm like literally hovering above the piano, but I still feel the fingers making contact with the keys. And I've never felt anything like that before. I was like, what the heck is this? Like, this is amazing. Like, what is happening here? Some magic or something. And so I proceed to, you know, finish playing and then do some research the next day immediately. I'm like, I need to like understand this better. Like, what is this phenomenon? And I don't think I remember seeing a name for it, but certainly the fact that our brains process sight, like a significant part of our brains process what it is that we're seeing. And so like when that's not happening, when your eyes are closed, but you have that real estate available for other stuff for your brain to do, like this is the type of stuff that's possible, right? Like some crazy stuff that's not normal kind of thing. And that just completely blew my mind. When I think about like the piano and just music, but also like the piano, like sitting down there after a long day, like I love it. You know, I love making music that sounds good, playing chords, figuring out chords that sound nice. Like I love it so much. And it's a blessing to have it. Like I don't know what I would do, you know, without it. It's something I very much appreciate. The fact that I got into it when I did, which was not as a young person like you did. I started much later in life. I started just a few years ago, and really went in on just wanting to learn as much as I can. Like that was like my whole thing. And so I'm just pumped up about, you know, just having fun with it and hopefully inspiring others too. And then eventually maybe even with the YouTube channel, like really starting to, and I haven't done this at all yet. I have a pretty extensive knowledge about chords, hence my name, but I have not started to like really make educational and fun and short content to teach people about chords. And that's something that I feel like I need to do and want to do. But just haven't yet, probably because I want it to be a certain way. And typically when things are really important to me, it takes a while to get it going, to get it started, because I'm like probably overthinking to an extent. But it will happen eventually. And I'm excited for that. I just have to figure out the right way, you know, the way that makes sense for me. Once it clicks, then I'm like, okay, there we go. That works.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Like teaching others and like such a need you express to inspire other people to get like the same out of music in general, you know, like that flow state you just described while playing Bach at night. I had a similar experience actually writing one piece one night. I came home like after being out, and I came home and I sat down and I had this new piano sound that I was excited to try out. That was like a sampled actual piano before I used the built-in sounds from my e-piano.
Okay.
And I just sat down and I tried it out, and I was like, oh my god, this finally sounds again like an acoustic piano. And I was just hitting record, and I was just trying a few chords and then going from there, and recorded that one piece. And that was a similar experience. Like when I hear that piece, especially since I recorded it, I always come back to that state where I went like that, as you described, it was kind of a magical moment, you know?
Yeah.
Where you were just into it. You were the music kind of.
Yes.
And
that's so cool, man.
It's so amazing that you say, okay, my focus needs also to be on a way to share that with others, you know? That's beautiful.
Yeah. I definitely appreciate that. I'm going to ask one more question, something unrelated to music, just a little bit about you, and then we'll wrap up. So I want to know I'm sorry, 2 more questions. We're gonna do 2. One of them is going to be, this is a new question I don't think I've ever asked on our show. It just came to me just now. What is a place that you've visited, that you've been to, that you absolutely loved?
Very good question. So I went hitchhiking in Japan some years back.
Wow. That's awesome.
I mean, the whole trip was amazing, and frightening at times.
Sure.
But there was like this one spot. It was raining the whole day. I was walking with my backpack off the coast, basically at the south part of the main island in Japan. And it was just rain and rain and rain, and I was getting annoyed by it. And then there was like this small shrine in the woods.
What?
Nothing like super special. Like you would imagine like something super romantic out of like a movie, you know. But it was basically like just not like something super old. It was just a random shrine for the local people, you know. But I could just stand there for a while and let some things dry, you know, and watch the rain outside in the forest, etc. And that was a really good moment, you know, where I felt at peace. So
that's awesome. Japan, huh? I haven't made it there yet. That's definitely on the list of places that I would love to visit. I feel like, the culture, and I feel like there's like there would be a lot that I would be interested in, technology, obviously, to kind of just be a part of and just experience. That's really cool. That's really cool. All right, one more question. If you had a chance to have dinner with someone spanning the history of time, who would you like to have dinner with?
Keith Jarrett.
I don't even know who that is. Keith Jarrett?
Keith Jarrett, yeah.
Keith Jarrett. Who is that?
Probably also would have been a good answer on who inspired me or who influenced me most. He's probably the musician where you could be like, okay, this one had a big influence.
Wow.
He's a jazz pianist.
Okay.
And I first got into contact when I listened to his Köln concert. He did these concerts. I think the Köln concert was in '75. Where he improvised everything, especially in this one. It's amazing. You hear like the first few chords, which goes like dum dum da da dum, and then he just lets that last note like hit 4 or 5 times, and then he starts playing. And during that time in the recording, people laugh in the audience, and I love that because it's actually the notes he plays is the gong of the opera where he played of the house to call people in after the break.
Okay.
And he improvised the whole first movement of this concert just on that. So as kind of also to show that it's completely improvised. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. That concert goes like 1.5 hours or so, and it's all improvised, and it's amazing. And it's, I don't know why, but I connect with his music so much because it really feels like he's just putting himself out there and going with the flow. And also, obviously, being super skilled as well. And when I mean, he was probably super eccentric. But I still feel like having dinner with that guy and just talking music, you know, just trying to find out how he sees music and why he plays the way he plays would be very, very interesting.
That's fascinating. I love asking that question and learning about things that I didn't know about before. So this is someone who I should be able to possibly look his concert up on YouTube?
Definitely, yes.
Okay. I would. And Keith Jarrett is his name, right?
Keith Jarrett, true, yeah.
Okay, I'm
Köln
excited
and
to
Vienna
check that out.
concert, amazing.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. As someone who loves the piano, I don't listen to a lot of classical or piano or even a lot of jazz music, but I would like to start. I mean, if I would like to, why haven't I yet? Probably because I'm too busy like listening to like the same like hip hop songs that I've heard like thousands of times already, and it just gets me in a mood. But I am like I want to start like stories like that. That's something that I would listen to, and I would be and be able to watch possibly. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe like when I watch a video of someone playing on the piano, that I'm in a trance, versus if I'm on a classical station, I'll listen to it and enjoy it, but I'll like be quick to like put some hip hop on like immediately after. So I'm excited to check that out. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, definitely. Hope you like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit you up when I do. For sure. And if you don't hear from me like in, let's say like 3 weeks, like feel free to be like, yo, so what'd you think about that concert? And there's a good chance that I wouldn't have listened to it because I forgot about it, and that'll be my reminder to check it out that night.
Will do.
There we go, man. So I really, really appreciate the time. This was such a great conversation. I've just been enjoying immensely meeting with music streamers. This has been so much fun. I didn't set out for this phase of my show to be this way necessarily. I did have the idea that, it would be cool to talk to other music streamers and network with them, learn from them, share some of my stories, share them with my audience, and vice versa. Like, I just knew that would be a good idea. But what I didn't know is the level of fun and the level of fun that I have in the conversations, set aside like the fact that I learned stuff, but also just enjoying just connecting with someone who I've seen a lot of you. I've seen you a lot. You've seen me a lot. But now like being able to talk like this way is so cool. And I appreciate the time. And now we have this, like you and I, years from now, Amadeus, we'll be able to see where we were in our musical journeys at this moment, in whatever today's date is, 1/28/2022. So I appreciate it, man. If there's anything else you'd like to share, you can feel free to.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. It was actually a lot of fun to hear your thoughts on the whole thing. As someone who's so analyzing about the whole affair. And also, I really like your question, especially at the end, to think about these things. Always nice to have a good conversation, about these things. As I say, you always start seeing things a little bit different, maybe, get new input. Connection, again, that's the beauty of it all.
That's it,
so,
man.
I really appreciate it, man. And
pleasure.
All the best with your ongoing journey.
Thank you, man. Pleasure was all mine. And something else I just thought of just now, a new part of the show, is at the end of the show, I have to ask my guests, what was one thing about the conversation that you hated? So I'm going to ask
you. I hated?
Yeah. Put you on the spot.
What did I hate about this conversation? It was too short.
Too short. Is that right? Yeah. Good. No, that's helpful.
I don't know. I mean, for me right now, as you know, it's already the 29th, so it's like almost 2 a.m. in the morning.
Right.
So I'm also happy to hit the sheets right now. But
yeah.
In general, I really enjoy conversations like that. And to be honest, if you poke into the right direction, I can talk for hours about stuff like that. So yeah, definitely. If I had to choose, but I mean, I had a good time, man. What could I say?
I'm glad you did. And you just told me something too, which is that eventually I think it'll just be so cool to do it. Like for those who are interested to do round 2 with presumably the same people that I had. I think it's probably like 8 or 9 or 10 people on Twitch that I've interviewed, including yourself. So at some point down the road, where it makes sense to have a follow-up. And at that point, the comfort level is now it's very much just straight up conversations. We know each other already kind of thing. So you can definitely be on the lookout for some information on that in the future.
All right, we'll do.
Yeah. Have an awesome rest of your night, man. Good night, and get some rest, much deserved. And we'll definitely talk next time, all right?
All right. Have a good one, man.